Hey everyone, it's Amy and I'm here today to do my very belated September wrap up. So as you can see, I put my August wrap up finally like last week or this week, so I'm just trying to catch up with wrap ups and then kind of start doing some kind of formal routine with them. As I say in every video, I don't particularly like filming them, and I guess I just got to find the way it's going to be right for me, and I'll get there eventually, so thanks for sticking around. Also, sorry I sound ridiculous. I have a bit of a congestion cold. It sounds worse than it is. I'm actually pretty okay. So, anyway, let's stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Let's get into what I read in September. So, on this really, really lovely Scotch Power envelope, I've written down what I've read. So, the first book I read in the month of April, September, oh god. The first book I read in the month of September was The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. This really didn't work for me. I was listening to it on Audible, gave it 2 stars. I wasn't particularly listening to it. I found it stupid, obviously racist, but it's one of those things that it is something of its own time, like it is a product of its own time, but I just wasn't enamoured by it. It was narrated by Kenneth Branagh, so I thought that'd be really interesting, but I just didn't care for this at all. And I don't really know what to say about it because I didn't care for it and didn't listen to it that well. So maybe when I'm older or something I'll revisit it and actually physically read it, but I just didn't care for this book at all, so 2 stars and a bit of a disappointment really. The next book I read was Running Like a Girl, which I have in physical form, Running Like a Girl by Alexandra Hemingsley. This was fantastic, so I gave this 5 stars. The reason I've got it is because my dad and like my brother, like my brothers and that, like my half brother and my half sister and my stepmom, all are really into running. So my dad runs marathons pretty regularly. Amy does a lot of triathlons. George does like 10Ks and so on and so forth when he can. And my dad was really interested in getting me back into running. I used to run a lot when I was a teenager. Didn't do it a lot recently because I had knee troubles, and then my dad was like, well, just get proper shoes. So we got some of those, and then I've been trying to get back into running, and it's a bit more of a mental game for me. I think I'm not as good as I am, and I think I'm more injured than I am. Like, I've got a bit of shin splints at the moment, and it really is just about me just getting out there and actually properly stretching and just taking care of myself. This book was given to me by Dad and Amy at Christmas last year, and this was amazing. She's so interesting and so inspiring. I run a lot whilst reading this and afterwards, so I think I might have to pick it up now and again just to keep the momentum going, quite literally. So she talks about how she kind of fell into running. She kind of just randomly decided to sign up for the London Marathon. And she also talks about her dad. So she talks a lot about how her dad was a keen runner, you know, in and out of the army, and how he really was a big inspiration to her. So I really connected so deeply with this book because it really related to my situation with my dad. I don't know if that would be the same for other people, and I don't know how that will reflect on other people's reading experience, but for me this was just incredible. So many truths came out, and I related so much to Alexandra that I've sped through this and absolutely adored it. So there's that one. The next book I read was on a very similar theme, and I picked this up whilst I was reading that previous book, and it is Haruki Murakami's What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. So I've read all of Murakami's fiction. He is if he's not my favourite writer, he is one of them. I adore what he writes. I read his non-fiction about the sarin gas crisis, or crisis, you know, terror attack in Tokyo, and that was really great. And I thought, well, I'll pick up another non-fiction, and it's about running, so plus. I gave this one 3 stars in the end. I really enjoyed his take on running. He's is very much part of his lifestyle. Runs every day, runs a lot of miles a day, but he has a very warped view on it. He doesn't stretch, he doesn't really cool down, he just kind of waits for his body to get used to it. He has this idea that his body's meant to run. He's also really quite self-indulgent, I think. He thinks a lot about his running and his technique and how he is good at it, and also about, I don't know, I think he just says a lot of stuff that isn't that true, just because I researched running a lot, just because of my own injuries that I have to look after myself with. And I think some of the things he says is actually quite dangerous to be advocating, such as not stretching and not kind of properly getting yourself ready before a run. I don't know. It's slightly problematic in that sense. I did enjoy it. I always enjoy Murakami's writing. It's a very interesting viewpoint. But like I said, I don't think you should use this as a book, as advice on running. I mean, sorry. Just like an interesting tale is what it is more so. So there's that one. The next book I picked up was kind of like a spur of the moment, random quick read, which is Kenko, A Cup of Sake Beneath the Cherry Trees, and this is one of the, what are they called, Penguin Little Black Classics. If I'm honest, I don't really care for Penguin Little Black Classics. I kind of bucked the trend when they first came out, and I was like, oh, it's really cool. It's only 80p. How nice. And then, like, everyone I've read has been pretty subpar, especially because I'm like, I'll just read the whole damn thing. I don't know, I'm pretty salty, and I don't mean to be salty on here, but I don't know, this was good. It was interesting. I don't remember it at all. This is why wrap-ups are so hard for me sometimes. If I don't like something, it floats completely out of my mind. I don't really care to think on it much more. It was cute. It was a lot of little tales from, like, kind of rural old Japan, and a lot of kind of wisdom and tales of old. So it was very cute, just not very memorable, and I don't find these Little Black Classics are like that very often. I have another one which my partner picked up. I think it's a piece of John Keats' poetry. I think it's the Lamia, or it's something, I think it's the Eva St. Agnes, whichever it is. And again, I would just rather buy a whole work of, Keats' poetry. I don't know, I don't think I'll hold on to this one. Yeah, the rating, I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, it was alright. And then the last book I read / listened to was Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. Okay, so the reason I was listening to this on Audible, and I read it in near enough a day, was because we were actually, I don't mean to get properly real on this channel, but I was going down from Scotland to South Wales to go to my great aunt's funeral with my partner Sam. So we were driving down. It takes about 6.5 to 8 hours depending on traffic. And we were like, okay, well, let's put an Audible book on, because we always like doing that. And then we picked this one. It was on my wish list. So we were listening to a book about death and human cadavers and what they're used for whilst going to a funeral, which I was really upset about. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved it so much, despite the weirdness of it. I think I engaged with it slightly more because I was in that kind of, I don't know, it was what I was thinking about and what was kind of occupying my thoughts at the time. And I think the ending was really sweet because she talks about different ways of not kind of getting rid of, cadavers and corpses, when people die. More about how we should be burying our dead and, respecting their lives, and also kind of environmentally, how can we actually keep putting people under the ground and how much space we're at and so on and so forth. The whole thing was really positive. It was really positive about how cadavers are so beneficial to medical science and how wonderful these people are for giving their bodies up after they pass away. Also went into like kind of the gory history of what people used to do and the medical advances that Greeks and Romans had looking at some cadavers. But yeah, I loved it. It expands so many different topics, and it ended really nicely. And again, like the running one, I think due to what I was going through at the time and my kind of personal background, it really struck a chord with me. So this one was 5 stars. No, you can no wonder about that. And I would really, really recommend it. I think Mary Roach narrates it herself. Don't quote me on that. But either way, the narrator is great as well. So if you can, I would definitely Audible this or even read it in physical form. So yeah, I didn't read that much in September. Only 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 books. It's not very much. Look out. Also, I'm going to do my last wrap up, which will be October, which will be a quick one because I did wrap up some of the books I read in the beginning of October with my half-hearted attempt at a weekly wrap-up. So look out for that as well. And I'll also be doing a 5-star predictions in the coming weeks too. So until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye.